Good morning and welcome to the Noswalker Morning Review. I am Noswalker. You know it. It's the morning. You know that too. Unless you live in like Australia. We're gonna review. First order of business. I had to look at my hotkeys. Morning review micro not on point. First order of business. PLAT 2. We got there. Took a little while, a week and a half or so, but we made it. Feels pretty good. And it feels like we learned a lot. I think this might have been the fastest promotion yet. Actually, the time between PLAT 1 and PLAT 2 was pretty brief. Yeah, a week and a half or so. I started in like Gold 3 and then I went up to Gold 1 pretty quickly, but then I dropped back down to Gold 3 and stayed there. So I think the beginning promotions, demotions were kind of just a stabilizing effect of the ladder figuring out my level. This is the correct position. So I don't think those count. I think getting Gold 3 to 2 to 1 after I had plummeted back down to 3 was pretty close to counting. And that was up to PLAT was like 6 weeks. So a week and a half from PLAT 1 to PLAT 2. Pretty good. And I attribute that to a few things. One is a lot of specific review of my play versus just watching videos of other coaching sessions or Bronze GM videos, which are fantastic. But getting that really like that personalized moment of this is what you decided to do in this situation, and this is why it didn't work, and this is what you might want to look at next time. It makes a big difference. Not to say that you don't learn an insane amount from other people's replays and stuff, which you definitely do, but there's certainly no substitute for personal coaching. The army composition thing has made a big difference. We have deviated a little bit from the Bronze GM build in that there is a bit of micro going on. But that being said, I always feel a little bit awkward about making any kind of personal judgment on Bronze GM because obviously it's great and the guy knows a lot more than me. But even in PLAT 2 now in those games, he's starting to lose a little bit, and it seems to be largely due to not microing. And I get that the point that he's trying to make is that it's totally possible, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. And I think I want to learn to micro stuff. That's another thing is planning for the future, right? Developing habits for the future, which I've talked about a little before, so I won't go into it now. In light of getting to PLAT 2 and playing a shitload this weekend, I've decided to step it back a little bit and relax and practice and train and try and get some habits up because I feel like I am playing pretty much at the edge of my ability all the time now in these games. I'm getting good games, like some good long games, some good short games, some good macro things, some good micro things. And I'm realizing that is... It can form bad habits. You don't do things perfectly in a game. You do whatever you need to do, and that's good, but then what you fall back on comes from the training, which I have neglected. Though I have said before, I'll say again, I usually do like a week on, week off sort of thing, like practice a bunch and then go in ladder and practice and go in ladder. Not strictly speaking, but you know, generally. And it's definitely training time now. I was thinking the other day about what it is that makes people really like next level. I mean, I guess I'm always thinking about what makes people better than other people. And up until now, I thought a lot about knowledge, which is obviously huge, like knowing builds, knowing how to read builds. But the other day I was thinking a little bit more about practice and training and how that applies. And I heard this guy, if you guys have not seen it, there's this song on YouTube called Lingus by a band called Snarky Puppy. It's super, super good live version. It's like the best song ever. It's so good. And the keyboard player has like a 5-minute solo, and it's absolutely incredible. And there was an interview with him where they were asking him like how he practices, and because his music is like super free form, like crazy weird chords and transitions, and it's almost like hard to listen to at first because it doesn't go where you would expect, but then as you hear it more and more and more, it seems fantastic. So they were asking him like, how do you practice, because it seems so like wild and crazy and everything. And he said that when he practices, he just focuses on getting everything exactly right, and he really just totally focuses, which makes sense. And then when he plays, he just tries not to think about any of that shit. And I thought that was like the good sort of switch of mindset. When you're practicing, you don't think about how you are playing. You don't think about whether it works or whatever. You think about the one thing that you're trying to do, and you do that perfectly, as slowly as it takes to get it exactly right, and you just do it right. Just do it right. And then when you go into the game, in our case, or play the show in his case, you don't think about that shit at all. And if you find, you go in and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not, like I just played a game where I'm trying to use the hotkeys, like egg hotkeys and inject hotkeys, inject group hotkeys and creep group hotkeys. So I've added a lot of command groups. I find myself really quickly like, oh, I totally forgot to put eggs in the group, or oh, I totally forgot to use, I just went and box selected to inject instead. So you play the game and then that happens, whatever, and then you go back and you just drill that thing that you didn't get right. Now I was playing like unranked practice games, so I was going back and fixing it on the fly, but the point being, you need to find these things that need to get fixed, and you need to fix them very specifically. So that's the focus for this week. We'll get back to laddering at some point. We might play a few games here and there, but I really think that when I come back to this ladder, I want to be a better player than I was when I left it. And I think that is something that's going to be demanded of me at every rank. I don't think that... I think, you know, as we play StarCraft, we set sort of triggers for ourselves. This thing happens, then we do this. We cluster all these things together. So I think when we get to a new rank, we need to step back and reassess and think, what can we fix? Obviously, we fix things as we go. We did the army thing kind of on the fly to just try to win games. But now we can step back. We can play some customs, play some unranked, and really fix these problems. So the plan is, I don't know if this is totally optimal, but this is what I would like to do for now, is never use the select army hotkey, mostly just to develop the habit. At some point it might be nice. If I make mistakes, it's good to have. I'll keep it available in ranked, but not using that key. And instead using hotkeys, using command groups from the eggs. And then for base command groups, I'm going to add tech into its own list. I noticed that tech is always in the same order in the list, which is kind of handy. So if I always get in the habit of putting tech onto a command group, control group, why am I saying command group? Put all the tech into the control group, then I never have to look at the buildings. I can always just upgrade things whenever. Once I just get it in my mind, like, you know, your mind is very spatial. Once I put the tech space into this button and not into where I put it on the map, upgrades theoretically never get missed, right? Because you don't ever have to look at the thing. You don't have to go find it. You're just like, you hear it, okay, make the next one. You don't have enough money, do something else, come back, make the next one. They're always just a button away. Might be good. I think so. And then a group, 2 queen groups is what I'm trying for now. Inject and creep. For now, I'm capping the inject group at 4. I'm actually just going to worry about injecting 4 bases. So when I start expanding to like 5 and 6, we'll just inject the ones that we need. Maybe. I mean, maybe I'll do some box selecting for the other ones, like when I go over there and check them out. But I'm getting the sense that there might be enough larvae to spend my money if I am injecting 4 bases regularly, and the other ones are just getting their natural larvae. But this is something I don't have enough information to make a total call on. In any case, for simplicity, 4 bases injecting, and then a creep group. This one is not really based on anything I've heard anywhere, so this might be almost like it could be a bad habit, or it could be like a suboptimal habit. But what I'm thinking right now is getting like 3 queens on a creep group and sending 1 towards the enemy and then 2 out in either direction. And the reason for that is that it'll get me creeping a lot harder and spreading it 3 times as fast as I currently am. And B, it's like, no, this is all just A, because it's like it adds a lot of scouting, but the creep adds the scouting. The one big risk is that I'm going to have 3 queens out in the middle of nowhere who are going to die if they get seen. But then I'm also going to have somebody there. They're going to know that I saw them. They're going to know I was spreading creep. And I still have 2 more, so I get a big early detection system at the possible cost of a queen. But by having 3 of them in 3 different places, I'm not losing all of my queens. So if I were to have a big ball of queens and a fight happened, they might survive a little bit better, and I might have to go and like micro it. But it would also cut down on my creep spread a lot. Like this, I get hit in 1 spot, maybe even 2 spots if someone's doing like a multi-prong thing, but it seems kind of unlikely. And I get to keep creeping everywhere else, so then the spread only gets limited in that one area. Maybe makes sense? I don't know. But it's also a good practice for me to just get into using the keys. And I noticed that when I started injecting into a hotkey combination, which for me is like G0 weird button click, right? So it's select the group, go to the first base, press the inject button, click the base, and then it's 9 inject click, 8 inject click, U inject click. Very, very fast. And then by having this sort of like, oh, I do this hotkey thing now, then B, which is just underneath G. After I finish that, and then hit B and then shift, which centers on the queen, and go do the creeping, right? And I think that's good. I'm missing creep a lot. Injects have been getting better, but I've been missing creep a lot. So something about having it like this hotkey cluster and then this hotkey cluster go together has made it easy, at least in training games. And then the last two things, I guess, is adding a third army group, which is going to be on H for me, and using the eggs to set those groups. This one I'm maybe even less sure of because I'm not sure how I want to manage control groups in the future, like how often I'm going to switch them, if it's often going to just be 2 or 3. The big question for me is that in one army, I would want, if I'm doing a Hydra Lurker, right, or anything with casters, I'm going to want my main army to have at least 2 hotkeys. But what if I split and I want 2 armies with 2 hotkeys? Is that a reasonable concern? Or do I have like a smaller army that I just put on 1 key and then I just let them like control click them maybe? I don't know. Anyway, adding in the third group. I'm adding in the third group largely because I just know that sometimes if I'm just saying Hydra Lurker is probably going to be my go-to right now. There are times where I just want something somewhere else, like maybe Lings and Banes on a different one or something. Or maybe I want to put some mutas in, or like ultras, I don't know. But it seems like having always using 2 and then having a third that you have in your repertoire to click on is a good idea. It just occurred to me that I'm not recording this morning review. I guess I can pull the VOD. Okay. So that's that, right? Yeah, that's that. One last sort of interesting thing. Throughout the week I've been working on getting up at a reasonable hour every day. Actually, almost an unreasonable hour, very early. And that's hard, right? It's hard, and it was a long weekend, so I was like drinking a bit, but I made sure I stayed up. And I noticed that today I slept quite a bit. I went to bed super early. I got up, and as soon as I came back at this game with like a good night's sleep, I really started thinking more like optimization and like thinking more intellectually about the game, I guess. Whereas before I was just like, I want to play. I don't know if there's anything to this, but like maybe there's something about a good night's rest that just gets your brain running, and being tired that gets you into like, I don't know, fight or flight, right? You're just like, yeah, let's go. And maybe you can't focus as much, so it's harder to practice. I don't know. This is neither here nor there. It's just sort of an interesting observation that this morning I just felt like I really got to get in here and fix some habits and like learn some new skills, internalize some new ways of doing things. Or maybe it's just where I'm at, right? Maybe it's just the fact that we got a rank. Games are getting hard, and it's time to reassess. Either way, that's it. So, thanks very much for joining me this morning. I hope that you have a fantastic day and a wonderful short week. 4 days. Or, if you have a different work schedule, then a good whatever. All right? Thanks very much, and later.